Monday. We welcome you. We're so happy to have you here with us. We have taken a long holiday break all the way to the end of January. That's a long break. But we are so thankful that you are here with us and just excited to dive into today's topic. I know you're going to be blessed by it as well. Please put in the chat where you are viewing from. We know we have viewership from all around the world and all around the United States. And so we want to give you guys shout outs and welcomes because we're just thrilled that you take your time out of your busy first day of the week, Mondays, to spend some time with us here at Mental Health Mondays. So we're just thrilled. Want to welcome my co-host, Dr. Ricardo Whyte.
Hello, Atonte. So good to be here, partnering up to do this yet one more time.
Yes, it's exciting. And we didn't have our little fancy intro today. So like I said, this is Dr. Ricardo Whyte. He's a psychiatrist. I'm Atonte Myers. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And we are the host of Mental Health Mondays. And we're thrilled, like I said, again, to just spend time with you guys this evening. Of course, the first person on was your bestie, Dr.
Clint
Whyte.
Shout out, Clint. Good to see you, man.
Welcome, Clint. And Clint, you're from Texas, right? I should know that by now after like almost 2 years. I think Clint is from Texas. Kathleen, we have Kathleen Wilson from Bowie, Maryland.
And I wonder if that's the same thing as Bowie, Maryland. I wonder if Bowie is different or is that?
Oh, I said Bowie. It is Bowie, I think.
Okay.
Okay, I just said it wrong.
Well,
yes.
Let us know if we're pronouncing it correctly, Kathleen.
Yes.
Is it Bowie, Maryland? Yeah.
And Clint said, yes, he is from Texas. I knew that.
Awesome.
I knew that. Cheryl Smith from the DC, Maryland, Virginia, the DMV. Welcome. We have Shan from Beaufort, Georgia. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays. So good that you guys, again, have taken time out of your busy schedules. Yeah, it's Bowie.
Yeah, there it is.
Thank you, Kathleen. Hello, Zadina Robinson. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays. Please let us know where you're viewing from. Yes. So we're thrilled, happy. We're late. We're a whole month late to say this, but Happy New Year. Happy New Year. We're in the part of the year or the new year where I think we stop messing up, like when we're writing checks. I don't know if people write checks anymore. I still write a few checks. And, you're not scribbling out 23, but 24, or we're in that part where you're pretty much writing 24. You're writing the right year.
Exactly.
Does that take about a month?
But leading into the topic, it's right about where people start falling off on their resolutions.
That's right. And we're going to jump right into it. I have to say, Zadina, yes, I knew that was you. Hi, Zadina. This is a good member friend, and she lives in my hometown, Paso Robles, California. Zadina, welcome. I saw you on church a few weeks ago, and now you're here. We're so thrilled to have you. I wish I could see you and give you a big hug. Give the family a hug for me and from Pastor. We love and miss you guys. Okay, I had to say that. She's a special friend.
Absolutely. and from California, no less. That's
right. And from my hometown, Paso Robles.
We love
have you ever been to Paso Robles? You've been up in that area, right?
I mean, I've been up north. Monterey as far up as Sacramento. So
I'm
past there.
You've driven past there if you went to Monterey, unless you went the coast, unless you went the Highway 1. You don't have to go through Paso Robles. You could just do the windy coast that makes you a little motion sickness. Motion sickness because the currents are so okay. You can tell I'm a Californian and you're in California now. So I love California. I could talk about it every day.
All day. Absolutely.
All day. Yes, but you're right. This is the time of year where people start slacking on their resolutions. This is, have you ever been to the gym on January 1st? It's packed. I've been.
Oh yeah.
It's packed out.
Yeah. And people have all their new gear, and you can barely find a machine, and oh my goodness, it's hysterical.
It's packed out, and people are just dedicated. They didn't have to be dragged to the gym. They were happy to get to the gym. They're like, yes, I'm starting something new.
Well, I wish I could say within a month or 2 months, it's empty. But we're talking California. California people care about their physique. so
That is true. That
so
is
it,
true.
it definitely stays up.
Mhm.
But this issue of resolutions is it actually dates back to the Babylonians, like 4,000
Mm.
years BC,
Okay.
where you would talk about resolutions and goal setting. And do you know that I guess the Julian calendar, January is for, I guess, the two-faced God, something to that effect,
Okay, I didn't know
because
that.
he's looking forward and he's looking backward.
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting. But whatever the case, a resolution. We use the term so much that
Right.
we it kind of escapes us how profound it is. Resolution. You are resolved. It's a done
Mhm.
deal. You are
Right.
clear. There's no more debate and there's absolute clarity. You have resolved to do X, Y, or Z. And
Yes.
so here at Living Manna, we want to be absolutely relevant to your struggles. And in recognizing that this is about that period where people's resolve starts to wane,
Mhm.
we're like, hey, what if we gave you guys a kind of booster shot? Um,
Right.
and really kind of started to deep dive into how do you form habits? How do you form
Mm.
habits effectively? Why would you want to form habits in the first place? And
Yes.
so we agreed to take a look at a book, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yes.
And so, Atonte, it sounds like we're going to spend a few weeks on this book, huh?
Yeah, I have to be honest. Like, I never heard of this book until yesterday morning when Dr. White reached out and we had our discussion and trying to plan for today's programming. And I was like, okay, maybe. Like literally, that's this the honest truth. And he knows it's honest. I was like, let me think about it a little bit and let me get back with you in a few hours. I looked up the book, hadn't even downloaded the audiobook yet, just like a summary. I text him, I was like, "Oh, yeah, we're doing this." And then today, after I did listen to the first 3 chapters, I have not read the whole book. I haven't listened to the whole book yet, but I
Right,
will.
right.
The first 3 chapters, I was like, "Okay, we're not doing one program on this. That's
Oh,
not enough. That we have to spend some time with this." To me, this is life-changing.
it
This is
is.
life-changing for so many. And to be honest, some of the concepts are life-changing for me as a therapist in trying to help people understand some of these concepts and why failure is so often happens when it comes to resolutions or even making changes in their life overall. So this book
Yeah.
is
Well, I
amazing.
mean, you sure are transparent. You sure are transparent because it was funny.
I
I was like, yeah, we could take a look
am.
at this. And she was like, yeah.
But the
Oh,
gracious Dr. White was like, okay, he
yeah.
was like, he's not pushy or anything,
No, no, no. Then she,
I
next time I heard from sis, she was like,
I was
we are all in.
we're all fired up. So this book is Atomic Habits by James Clear,
Right.
and it was a New York bestseller. A
Yeah, so
New
feel
York
free to
bestseller.
pick the book up. Feel free to
Oh,
pick the
sure.
book up so that you can follow along. Personally, for me, when I really love a book, I get the physical copy. Typically I get the audio first. I usually get the audio first because I
Right.
can listen to it.
Yeah.
Um,
On the way. Well,
and
we know you have to do that in the Southern California traffic. You can get
oh
to
my
we
goodness. So we got time to listen. So
yes, you
I'll
have
pick
time
up
on your hands.
the audiobook. I'll get a digital copy so that I can have it on my iPad or my and what that facilitates is sometimes I can read and listen at the same time. So in a really really cool book like this, I have the physical, I have the digital, and I have the audio because I really like the book. So yeah, just think about picking the book up because it's going to support the conversation questions are going to come up, and we're excited to
To take
support
your
you.
questions. Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
We'll be taking your questions and comments. So you're definitely a part of our programming. If you've ever watched Mental Health Monday, that's what we do. But we were going to present this information. And then Amber put in the chat that she just read that book. And it wasn't because we told her to. She read it, I guess, for work or what something. She read the book and she said it's amazing. So our producer said it's amazing. We're saying it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yes, a very good book. But yeah, let's jump in. They're probably like, all right, let's hear the amazingness of it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's starting off with habits. Like, why are habits so important? Why are habits so important? And there is a sentence I absolutely love in the book. You do not rise to the level of your goals.
Yes.
You descend to the level of your systems. You do
Yes.
not rise to the level of your goals. You descend to the level of your systems. And we're talking about time. We're talking about time and time expenditure. Time is a critical resource, an absolutely critical resource. So, one of the most important skills you need then is how to become adept, how to become skilled at leveraging your time to support your dreams.
Right.
And so, as you know, we get so many, questions sometimes about relationships and, um, all the things that go with that. But I assure you, if you're not able to leverage your time effectively, that's going to hurt your relationships. It's going to hurt your
Right.
spirituality. It's going to hurt your finances. It's going to hurt you at work. So, this is really a core topic so that you can then make sure that at the end of 2024, time unfolded in such a way where it brought you much closer to your dreams, much closer to your goals. And so
Yes.
that's why we're like, it's worth making this deep dive into this topic of habit formation at this time in the year. Were you going to say something, sis?
Yeah, what really stood out to me is when people make these resolutions and
Mm-hmm.
want to change things, they set goals.
Mm-hmm.
And he breaks down in the book why setting goals,
Mm-hmm.
why that happens, that it's important that we change the system versus changing or changing the looking forward to changing, doing little habits, small things that change the system versus setting these goals. Not that goals are bad things within themselves, but if the system isn't changed, the goals are they're going to fail.
Yeah, and I mean, and to kind of probably get the reader's interest, he tells the story of the, I guess, English cyclist team,
Yes,
who they were
the
they were
British, yeah, the British
they were
cycling team.
doing so bad. It's so funny because they were doing so bad. It's like shoe companies did not want them wearing their shoes.
That's
They're
pretty
like,
bad.
no.
That's pretty bad.
I'm not saying they did this, but they're like, the attitude was like, we'll pay you to wear somebody else's shoes. But they were just absolutely, atrocious. And so they get this new coach, and the new coach believes in this concept of aggregation of marginal gains, meaning every little change matters. Every little change matters. And so, from even the color that they painted the van so that it was easier to see dust, and what clothing they would wear, and just noticing every possible improvement that they could. And don't you know, this cyclist team just skyrocketed to starting to win competitions and starting to get an amazing record, including winning the Tour de France. And the system that they used was aggregation of marginal gains. And the
Right.
idea being, pay attention to the small things.
Yes.
Pay attention to the small things, looking at your system and seeing what tweaks you might need to make in order to get massive gains. And he warns you that sometimes we're looking for big changes, and for things to happen in just some kind of snap. And I think that tends to be why we sometimes fall away from our resolutions, because we make investments, but we're not able to detect the changes. We
Mhm.
don't notice, we get back on the scale, and it looks as if there's been no change, not understanding that the body might be redistributing itself, and it might be creating muscles and repairing
Mhm.
muscles. and
Mhm.
and just because you don't see change now, you don't get the benefit of what you would have gotten had you continued. So
Yes, and yes, no, 100%. It's powerful. And then Clint said all of this has spiritual applications as well. And I say amen to that, Clint. This is why I introduced it to Pastor Myers. He's gonna start listening and reading this evening. But it really does. It does have spiritual implications. And using your example that you were just saying, the small movement, like it I started working out again. I took a break, a pause, for too long actually, but I took a pause. Here I am being transparent again. Took a pause and, had made a decision. Okay, I'm going to start working out with a trainer. It kind of helps when you pay somebody to like makes you want to work out each week because you're going to see them again in another week, and you better have made some gains. But at first it's been about 2 months. Yeah, it's been 2 months. And at first, in the first week, even though I'm working out hard, you don't really see change. The second week, you don't really see that much. You don't really see not even a little bit of change. The third week, after 1 month, you start to see, okay, that muscle is popping out a little bit more than it did. But it took all of that was starting to happen on day one, but I didn't get to at least see that change was happening from day one, but I didn't see it until the end of the first month. But every little step I was taking was creating that change. And so sometimes we get discouraged because we want to see the muscle popping out after day one or at the end of that first week, and that's not good. That's not how change happens. So
well,
our perspective about creating new habits has to change. Go ahead.
exactly. The capacity to detect change needs to improve. So for
Right.
me, what I did is I committed myself to 5 sit-ups. So I did it with
Okay.
push-ups before, but now it's just 5 sit-ups every day, right? And
Mhm.
the goal is to do that for the course of a year and see where I get.
Yes.
Because one of the things that they talk about in Atomic Habits is this thing about trajectory. So,
Yes.
like, if you're gaining a pound every month, at
Right.
the end of well, it's funny because at the end of the year, you would have had 12 pounds, but over a decade, that's 120 pounds,
Right.
and that's just trajectory. If, on the other hand, you're losing a pound every month,
Mhm.
now at the end of that year, you've lost 12 pounds.
Right.
And over a decade, that'd be 120 pounds.
Yes.
So trajectory is a big thing. But here's the
It's huge.
thing with committing yourself to 5 sit-ups per day. I have never gotten down or on that thing and only did 5. Just about never. Uh,
You did
it,
more. You did more.
you do way more. You do
Okay.
way more because you've gotten through the trouble of already getting yourself in that position. And,
Right.
you're like,
Right.
I'm already here. I'm not going to stop at 5, you
Right. No.
know? But,
Yes.
but on some days where it's like super crazy, all I have to do is hurry up, do my 5, and I've met that commitment for the day.
Mhm.
But I know I have over a year, and I know I don't expect to see any change in my 1 pack. I'm joking. I don't expect to see any change for
Yeah.
the next 3 months. But
Everybody has a six pack.
is that right?
There's just fat over it.
Look at you.
No, I followed a trainer who said that everybody has a six pack. There's just fat and stuff over it. We just have
Well,
to
I'm
get rid
trying
of the
to get mine uncovered. I
right.
want to see my 6 pack.
That's what you say. That's what you say.
I want to see it. But the thing is, but I don't care about rushing the process because I'm committed. I'm gonna give this a year, and I don't think I'm gonna see changes till about 6 months in. So
Yes.
I'm that patient with the process because what's my goal? I just want to form the habit.
Yes.
First, I just want to form the habit. I want frequency before intensity. First, let me
Right.
just get frequency.
And I think it's important for us to talk about the system.
Yeah.
Like really what that really defining that what that is. When I first heard him mentioning it, as I was listening, it reminded me of family. I don't know if you remember this and if you use this technique with your clients, or but family structural system, because it's all about systems and how it works in the family. And when those uh, when the systems are interrupted, and it's a whole thing, but the systems are so important, and the feedback loops and all of those things. And so it's important for us to really understand what that is.
No, no, absolutely. Well, he talks about the habit loop. And so,
Mhm.
what we're going to be doing in this section is basically then doing an overview, because we will then dive into greater detail at a future session.
Yes.
But he talks about when it comes to behavior, if you unpack behavior, you're going to see that it's going to subdivide into 4 phases. And here are the phases. The first is cue.
Mhm.
So we can often see things that basically cue us. You see it and it kind of triggers you. The next thing after you are cued is you experience a craving. And
Mm.
so we've all,
Right.
commercials are just loaded with cues that trigger cravings.
Right.
So we really want that thing. And then from a craving, now you're going to get a response. So are you going to be in pursuit of fulfilling the craving? And then last but not least, there's the reward. And
Right.
so he describes that as the loop um, for habit formation. Now, despite him saying that, I have to add one more category. One more category.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
that category is after you get the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. The thing I want you to be aware of, living mana mental health community, is consequences.
Mm.
Consequences. Because that's what I didn't hear addressed in the loop. It's consequences. Let's deal with food.
Mm.
So if you cue, you crave, you respond, you eat, you get the reward, you get that dopamine hit. What can be a possible consequence of doing that too much?
You
O-
gain weight.
Obesity,
Yes.
obesity, illness, even
Yes.
death, even death.
Right.
So I think when you unpack your behaviors and you get at what the cue is, the craving, the response, the reward, don't forget to also sensitize yourself to what is the consequence. What is the consequence? Because
Mhm.
it's that consequence that often can alert us to the reality that we need to make a change.
Mhm.
We need to make a change. And that consequence can either be for the positive or it can be for the negative. Now, one of the problems is sometimes we don't attach the consequence to the behavior. So you get
Right.
a lot of people who are doing substances, you name it, and you say, hey, you think that substance might be causing the problem? And often you'll hear them say, no, 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 that's not the problem. That's not the problem. there, there's
Mhm.
something else causing the problem. So there are behaviors that are causing consequences, but we don't attach them because those
Right.
consequences come later. And one of the things we have to do is we got to start sensitizing ourselves to those consequences. One of the interesting consequences with food is feeling bloated. Do you pay
Right.
attention to the consequence of how you feel after you've ate that thing?
Yes.
That's really important
Right. No, it
because
is really important, because when we
because
have
that
that craving, you don't always think about that.
right. Well, and that feedback sometimes they'll tell you, you know what, I don't want to do that again. I don't want
Right.
it feels so uncomfortable. You can
Mhm.
barely move, you're bloated, and it's like, no,
You
why
feel
why would I
you
do
feel
that?
sluggish.
What's that?
You feel sluggish.
You feel sluggish, you want to go to sleep, you don't think as well, especially if you're still at work. You still have a afternoon of work to do, but your brain is shot because of a choice. And so please, as you look at this loop, as you look at the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward, please do not forget to sensitize yourself to, hey, what are the consequences? because those consequences can be profound. And that's what you can then use to say, you know what, I want to extinguish that habit. I
Yes.
want to extinguish that habit. And so we're going to talk about what are the steps for extinguishing the habit.
And so just looking back, and so when you consider those things after you have the craving, that would be considered changing the system on how you approach that bad habit, or want
Correct.
to change that.
Well, because what he does is once you understand this loop, he talks about, well, now you can leverage that loop to form a habit or extinguish a habit.
Mm-hmm.
You'll recall that Solomon, the wisest king that ever lived, he says, so as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So as a man thinketh in his heart. Now, we often misquote it and just say, so as a man thinketh, so is he. No, Solomon said, so as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Right.
And Atonte, you and I both know when Solomon is talking about the heart, he's talking about the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about the subconscious mind. So as a man thinketh in his subconscious mind,
Right.
so is he. And so one of the powerful things that the book champions is to make the unconscious conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time to see what the cues are that are triggering the cravings, that are triggering the response, that are giving you
Mm-hmm.
that reward, that is then, doing this feedback loop and
Right.
positively, and going back, and you're going over it and over it and over it and making it this habit, even though it's generating consequences that you don't want at all.
Right.
um, Bonnie, thank you for your courageous, statement. But we in this segment, in this show, what we're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about is what Atomic Habits discusses in terms of, hey, how do you get rid of these of these loops? Um,
Yes, Bonnie. Yeah. Thank you for being so
so
transparent.
courageous
And
and
I wanted to, yeah, her comment makes me want to take a step back. I mean, I know we were looking at the systems, but I want to give some encouragement to Bonnie and everyone else, and to all of us who want to create, to change the system and to create healthy habits. He talks about improving by 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding. Here's how the math works. If you make 1% improvement per day, by the end of the year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you are done. So you can make that much more of an improvement in 1 year just by making 1% change per day.
which
So
is
making
profound.
small little movements and decisions, going back to my trainer, because we do different training, and because she talks about this, so not exactly like that, but the principle is still the same. She's, teaches me different exercises, and it'll be a little movement, and she's telling me the muscle I'm working, and the movement's so little that you're thinking like, how am I really working that muscle? And she's like, it doesn't take much to work and to build that muscle. The little movement you're making is beginning that process. So this 1% a day is the same principle, that you can gain and get stronger and be 37% better as a person in 1 year.
Absolutely. And you can see it really relies on patience.
Yes.
Sometimes we are so hard on ourselves. I'm gonna lose 30 pounds, I'm gonna lose 50 pounds, and it's
In
like,
in 2 months.
no,
I'm gonna
real,
starve. I'm
real
gonna starve myself and lose 50 pounds in 2 months, or whatever. I'm exaggerating with the 2 months,
no,
but that's what
totally.
people. Yeah.
Totally, but we stress ourselves, we end up beating ourselves up, and here is the key. It's not sustainable.
No,
It's not
it's not.
sustainable. As opposed to, hey, let me make 5 pounds my target. Maybe let me make 1 pound my target. Let me do it in a way where it's sustainable.
Right.
Um, so one of the things that he talks about, if you're gonna, let's say you're gonna form a new habit. Let's say you're gonna form a new habit.
Mhm.
So the cue, your goal is you're going to number one make it obvious. Okay, so for example, if you, let's say you're going to go to the gym, because that's a really popular one, so let's say you're going to make
It
it
is.
go to the gym. You need a cue that is very obvious, that's going to trigger a craving to go to the gym. So
Mhm.
what then would be the cue? The cue is you're either you've got some clothing that is strategically positioned, so you see that, you know that that's what you're going to wear. Maybe it's some sneakers, they're by the door, but you make it, there's some cue. I'll tell you a really powerful cue. One cue is a calendar, where you can mark an X for each day that you go. And
Right.
so so when you see that calendar, it's this visual stimulus that, hey, you know what, I need to mark that X. I want the privilege of being able to mark that X that I did it, you know.
Right. Yes.
um and so, but you want that visual cue. You want to set up your environment to basically remind you to go to the gym. We're just using the gym as an example.
Yes.
So now that cue has triggered the craving. Well, now, of course, your response would be to go to the gym. All right, now let's talk about going to the gym. Okay, without fail, you go to the gym, you spend an hour, maybe even 4 hours, and you work muscles out that you did not know you existed. You got pain in all kind of places that it's not, you don't want to mention in polite company, and
Mhm.
you find some way to make it to your car. And basically your subconscious is basically, we will never entrust her cognition with putting us in this pain and this level of pain ever again. The bottom line is your body just revolts against
Mhm.
you ever doing anything like that again. And that's not how habits are formed, you
Right.
know. Super, super painful, and you don't want to do it again. It wasn't fun, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And so see what's missing? There's no reward. The reward is your
Mhm.
body hurting, and that is not how habits are formed.
Right.
Instead, imagine you got that cue, you got the sneaker, you got the clothing, and nice clothing, by the way. They feel good, they look good, you know. Um,
Mhm.
you got your gear. So you went to the gym. You kept it light. You kept it light because at the beginning, our focus is just consistency.
Mhm.
Beginning, we're just looking at consistency, because intensity will come. But first, intensity is built on the backbone of consistency.
Consistency. 1% a day.
And 1% a day, so nice and light. And so your body's like, hey, that was fun. That was
Mhm.
doable. We got a little burn. We got a little, but that was doable. I want to go back. And so
Mhm.
that was fulfilling. So then you give yourself some kind of treat, whatever's in the budget, but you make it a tangible reward. You make it a tangible reward. And then you keep at that. And one more thing about the consequence. Here's what's awesome. Here's what's awesome about when you commit yourself to health. It's almost like if you were progressing towards obesity, like now at least you've stopped it. You're not gaining. At
Mhm.
least you're
Right.
not gaining. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So at least you're not gaining. And then the other thing, the other positive is going to be, and now you're starting to reverse. You
Mhm.
do this with the help of your mental health team. We are not your mental health providers. So you
No.
really want to consult your mental health team and make sure that you're doing everything that's safe and you're honoring all of the nuances that might be relevant to you, but you're moving in the right direction. And now if you give yourself time, then you're going to see a trajectory where Atonte mentioned your gains can be so substantial if you're
Yes.
just patient with the process.
Right. And a joyful noise. No, it wasn't a joyful noise. Oh, Tiscara. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's the name of the book, and it's right there on the screen. She said she's missed what the title was. So that's the book that we're discussing today. And the reason why we're discussing this and taking it piece by piece and so slow is to really just to be an encouragement to so many, and just not to want you to if you set goals and then you fall off and then you get back on and you fall off and then you don't get back on at all and then you just give up and you're discouraged. We're looking into why that is, and how you make lasting change and habits that become who you are. And so just looking at that in the book, it also talks about building identity based habits. And so we can look into how that helps for you to make this change.
I really love that part. Are you going to
Yeah.
finish? Are you
No,
finished?
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I really love that part because what he basically is championing is if you say that you want this new identity. So now
Right.
you say that, I don't know, you say that maybe imagine that on the one hand, you started out saying that you're overweight, but then on the other hand, now you say, you know what, but my new identity is to be a fitness instructor. You know,
Mm, yeah.
my new identity is to be fit. And so it's like you start embracing this new way of thinking because you're shedding the old identity. And
Mhm.
he also talks about how the spirit of how you're doing this is I don't have to do this, I get to do this. I'll
Yes.
repeat, I don't have to do this, I get to do this. It's like this is a gift you're giving yourself. And
Mhm.
so it's done in a spirit of joyousness, not grit and grind and all this kind of stuff. I think it's just so key that a system is designed in which it's actually pleasurable.
Right.
That's
Right.
how habits are formed. I came across this quote some time ago from, I think it was the internet. The chains of habit start so light they're not noticed until
Mm.
they're so heavy they can't be broken.
Mercy. That's powerful. That's powerful.
They
Yes.
start light. It starts
Yes.
light. But when we start setting out to find a good habit, we start out with the heaviest chain we can possibly find. And then
Yes.
we wonder why it won't form because that's not
Mhm.
how habits form. They form very light. So Bonnie, you can find that book anywhere books are sold. We're talking
Yes.
Amazon, we're talking at a bookstore.
On Audible, you can get it on Audible as an audiobook
You
as
can
well.
probably go to atomichabits.com if you want.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
website, and
yeah.
he has a lot of he has a
Other
lot of information
resources. He
on
has a
there.
lot of other resources on the website as well. So
He
so
Yeah, he
so
does.
so we're not championing this because we have any stock in it, but we sincerely wanted to bring you some
It's
content
powerful.
that's really powerful, useful, and we want your 2024 to be transformative, to be
Yes,
absolutely transformative.
to
And
be
that's why
amazing.
outcomes are built on your habits. Your
Right.
habits define who you are. If I want to see who you are, I can look at your calendar. I'll look at your calendar. The calendar will tell the whole story.
Yes,
That
that's true.
that's the ultimate witness. And so we want that you develop a calendar that's more aligned with the identity of who you truly want to be.
Right. James Clear talks about to be able to build identity based on habits. He says to change your behavior for good, you need to start believing new things about yourself. You need to build identity based habits. And that when I first heard those two sentences, I thought, wow, this is powerful. I mean, this is work that we do in therapy, trying to help people to get healthier thoughts instead of the negative automatic thoughts that they have all the time. But believing something different about yourself, you have to start saying something different about yourself. So these thoughts that are saying, an example, I don't know if he used this example, but someone saying, um, I'm not good at math. And then
Right.
that becomes who you are. Like, so
Your
to
identity.
become to create a habit where maybe you start practicing some math problems so you can get better at that. You have to stop saying that you're not good at math. You have to have something. You have to be that your identity has to change.
My
Yeah.
antidote for that is, um, feel free to say, I was not good at math until now.
Now, yes, I knew you were going to say that before you said it. That's how
Ah,
long we've been working together. I knew that
you
was
were
coming
queuing
next.
me up. You were.
Well, I really wasn't cheering you up, but as soon as you started, I was like, he's going to say that.
I wasn't good at math
It's
until
okay.
now.
I've stole that. I've used that in win session with people. I've used your thing. So
Until
it's
now. It's
until
like
now.
you get to change your identity. Like we are capable of neuroplasticity. We have a brain that's designed to change to support the endeavors of our choosing. So
Mhm.
you are not locked in. Your identity is not locked. You have
Right.
a body that will morph and change itself to support you in the endeavors of your choosing. So just choose good endeavors. But
Mhm.
but I want you to add that to the things you need to change. That old identity, make sure you add those last two words, until
Until
now.
now. Yes.
Until 2024, until now, you get an opportunity to change and to move
Mhm.
towards that person that you are longing to become.
Yes. I totally agree. And again, this is something uh I talk about cognitive distortions and negative thoughts and to what are we saying? I ask clients like if I were able to put a recording device in your brain, what would I hear?
Wow.
And so then they start to pay attention. What am I always telling myself? And so building a new identity is changing what you're telling yourself on a daily basis, sometimes consciously, but many times unconsciously. It's on repeat and it's a bad you do have a habit of doing that and it's a bad habit. But creating a new identity is you're going to have to change those things that you're saying about yourself.
Oh, no
You're building a new
question.
identity.
No question. And you have to say those things over and over and over again if
Right.
you want it to drip down to your subconscious.
Mhm.
Because remember, so as a man thinks in his heart.
Yes.
So when you say it that first time, you don't believe it. When you
Right.
look in that mirror and you say, I have value the first time, you might not believe it. You have to do it over and over and over and over again. So it
Mhm.
drips down into your subconscious. And that's where then you start believing, oh my goodness, I do have value. I do have.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so very important.
It is very important. And then the next step that he brings out is you decide the type of person you want to be. This is how you start creating a new identity, deciding the type of person you want to be. He used an example of by changing to help change your identity, you ask yourself questions like let's just say you're wanting to eat healthier or lose weight or whatever you want to do, the habit that you want to create. And before you make a decision to do something or when you're trying to create building a new habit, you ask yourself, what would a person who is healthy, what would they choose? What would they eat? And so you're asking yourself these questions before you take action. And it helps you to start creating this new identity.
I think that's so profound. I think that's so profound. As you
Mhm.
as you take on this new identity, you say, what are the behaviors that align with that?
Yes.
Okay. As I look at a person who has achieved that, how do they behave?
Right.
Um, I think that's so profound. I love Amara's setup. She goes, "We are our own worst enemy. I wouldn't say the things I say about myself to anyone. We can
Yes.
bully ourselves and not even realize it."
Yes. Amra, I
Until now.
until now,
Until
yes.
now. Until
But that
now.
but that statement is so true.
Right.
That
Until
is so
now.
true.
So
Yes.
so Amara, I'm saying that because do not pronounce that over yourself.
Right.
Do not pronounce that over yourself. You were, or we were our own worst enemy.
Yes, we
And
were.
we would normally say things about ourselves that we wouldn't say to anyone. We've bullied ourselves and not realized it until now.
Mhm.
Until now.
Mhm.
Stop casting curses over us. That's
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
Stop pronouncing. We need to stop pronouncing curses over ourselves. We need to that's why that until now is so important. And instead, we need to speak the life that we want, and that we need to declare that over ourselves, and then we need to move towards that. um
Mhm.
and this is one of the reasons that scriptures is so powerful, because there's so many messages in there that you
Mhm.
can embrace and you can really internalize, and it's more congruent with who it is we were designed to be.
That's right.
um,
And I want to say, because Bonnie said, I need to change my self-talk for sure. And Bonnie, you're not alone. This
you're
is
not
this is
alone.
this is something that so many people, the majority, all of us at times say some negative self-talk. And that is one of the key, when I'm working with clients, this is one of the key things that we're working on, because dealing with the negative self-talk and changing that cognitive distortion, it's that is helping to create a new identity, because you stop, like Amber said, being your own bully and plaguing these negative statements. You
and
stop
Gigi,
that and you change into a new person.
and Gigi just dropped a bomb. She goes, "It's not real humility. Like, this is not, this self-deprecation. It's not humility. We're dropping
Mhm.
bombs on ourselves."
Right.
And then in moments where we need to believe in ourselves, we wonder at times why it's not there. And could it be because of some of these poisoned ideas that we allow to lurk, rather than chasing them out of our consciousness so that we have a spirit of belief, and we remember who our creator is.
Hmm.
So I love that reminder, Gigi, that's not humility. It's untruthful, and we need to stop deprecating the gifts that we have been given.
Right. And there's a question by Child of God. Can you explain or give an example of how we can reduce cognitive dissonance?
Oh, absolutely. Child of God, that one's simple. That one is simple. Take Make time to write. Absolutely make time to write, so that you can actually externalize your thoughts.
Mm.
Periods where you can do reflective writings, and sometimes just writing and not even being intentional about the topic, but just writing, just externalizing your thoughts. Um, it can be so powerful for you to then see what it is that you're thinking. You're like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness. I know I've at times, if something upsets me, I will enjoy having a writing session where I write unedited.
Mm.
And then I very quickly shred those concepts because I don't want to encounter them again. Um, but I remember I had done that before, where it's like I had them laying around and I read them again, and I was like, man, I don't want that going back into my mind. I want that out.
Right.
And after I've done that, then I just want it shredded, because I also don't want anybody come reading that and misunderstanding anything. So no, shred it, because it's out of you. But child of God, it's through our writing that we can pay attention to what it is that we are thinking, and sometimes see the discrepancies between
Mhm.
what we profess to believe and what we actually believe. So just something that you might want to think about. And Gigi said, that's huge. Externalizing is such a reality check and grounding skill.
Mhm.
Once it's out of my head, things are always better. Things are always better.
Yes. And that's why, even going back to therapy, sometimes people just need to talk things out and say things out loud to somebody in a safe space. Because I'm sure you've experienced this. People come in and you have a client that just needs to release all of that. And maybe by the end of the session, you're thinking in your head, I know I've thought this before. Did I really help this person? But they're so happy because they're so thankful and they feel like you've done so much, when really I just listen to them letting the stuff out of their head.
I call therapy facilitating an emotional bowel movement. Um, you
Now, I
know,
did not know you were going to say that. But that one I didn't know. That you never said before, but that's a new one, but that was good. I get
it's
it. I get it.
I call it facilitating an emotional bowel movement because
I
sometimes people just come in constipated, you know? They
true.
haven't had any settings where someone
They
was ready to listen and let them be the priority.
yes,
Okay?
not interrupt them,
Not
not
interrupt them
not tell them they're wrong for how they feel.
or sideways be like, okay, is that how you feel? Well, you should hear how I feel. You had a bad day, you should hear about my day. No, there are very few settings that keep it focused on you and actually facilitate. And I don't want to betray what therapy does because
Right,
I am
no.
confident that Sister Tante is a wonderful listener, but as a skilled therapist, she also knows when she needs to speak.
Right. That's true.
Because you'll
That's
you'll see the movies making fun of us like like we really could build a living in therapy just nodding our heads and uh, look, patients would not put up with that, not 3 seconds. So for them to
right.
derive value, the
Yes.
information they deliver also has to get a certain response.
Mhm.
And so that's part of the art. But an important part is also allowing them to what we call cathart, get it
Right.
out,
Get it out.
the emotions out, and being patient and curious and probe and understand what more did you want to share about that issue, because child of God asked, hey, how do I externalize my thoughts? Well, that's in a setting like that, sometimes it facilitates exploring what you're thinking,
Yes.
so that it's not even me telling you what to think, it's helping you understand what it is you're thinking, so
Mhm.
that you can even behave more effectively in alignment with what you truly believe, because one of the magic of therapy is helping you see you're not behaving in your best self-interest right now.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, no, it's true. And just to seal what we're saying, I had a client recently who was, it's beginning sessions, and so he's letting it all out. And for the first time, and as he's talking, he's sharing, and I'm listening, and I'm hearing his story and learning his story, and dots are starting to be connected for him. I mean, he just said, "Wow, I just had an aha moment." Like it connected. I hadn't said anything yet, and it was already connecting just because he was finally letting it out.
He was doing the work. We call it doing the work.
Work.
Doing the work. So
Mhm.
no, that's phenomenal. So we kind of helped you kind of identify how to form a habit. Next week, I guess we'll explore how to
Yeah.
eliminate a habit.
Yes.
What are the systems that he talks about? How do you eliminate a bad habit? All right. So
Yes.
Tokara said, I've never been in therapy before, but I know I need it to iron out my thoughts and feelings. I just signed up for the Better Help therapy. Tokara,
Congratulations to you.
yeah, I
I'm
don't know.
happy.
I've
Yes.
never heard of the Better Help therapy, but we are rooting for you, and it's our hope that you find a setting where you can do the work, you can get clear on your conscious and unconscious thoughts, so that you can make sure that your behaviors truly align with your goals.
Yes, and BetterHelp therapy. No, it's extremely popular right now. It's online therapy, and the way and they're just all around the country. So they have therapists in every state. They have this therapist in the state that you live in, and they, tend to make it more affordable because
Oh,
all
that's
their
cool.
therapists are online. Yeah. So I share with people who are looking into therapy definitely to look into that as well. And I just want to put this out there that, just like with regular therapy, that people that you meet in person, if the BetterHelp therapist you find is not the right fit, they even give you it's easy for you to let them know that you'd like to change, and because they have so many that they can pull from, that you can switch. And so that's for all therapists, even when you're seeing them in person, always find the right fit that works for you. I always say talk to the therapist before you sign up, like do a little interview with them to see if that's a good fit for you. But if you get in and you realize it's not, you can always look
Try again.
for another one. Don't give up
Because
on therapy.
you're looking for the right fit. You really want to work on getting the right fit. High
Yes,
yield, very high yield.
yes. So this hour went by quickly because we're really enjoying this topic. If you can't see, we really like this topic. Because
Absolutely.
we know it's going to be so much of a benefit. And so can't wait till next week. I'm sure we'll do a recap and then go into it a little bit deeper and talk about how to create uh, new habits. And so please, and tell your family, your friends, your coworkers, even those that you may not like that much. I always say that. Let's say that instead of enemies. Tell everyone put it on your social media that this is the topic. And if they want to learn more, definitely tune in to Mental Health Mondays. And if it's possible, definitely encourage you to get the book as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sister Tante, till next time, always a pleasure.
Yes. To you too, Dr. White, and to all of you, have a good evening, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Take
God
care.
bless
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye-bye.